not a qualification, certainly, to lead the Veterans Administration. I would go one step further on that one, Brooke, and I would just, you know, as a veteran, as a retired officer, I would say that we need to remind ourselves of what's really at stake here. I mean, these are men and women who have gone off and put their personal lives on hold so that we could live ours, you know, and now it's time for them to come home and be healed and recover. And, you know, there was a time in this country that we agreed on that regardless of political affiliation, that the veteran came first, and we honored that promise. And I think the fact that we're even having this conversation at a larger political level about whether or not Trump likes him or he said something, I think we're putting the veterans second, and that's what's happened with the VA, and I think that's why guys and gals are waiting in line for, you know, 7 months to get care.
Which is a massive, massive problem. You know, the veterans should come in first, and part of the issue is how to attract extraordinary doctors, nurses, staff to VA centers all across the country, where they can go next door to, you know, a private clinic and make a heck of a lot more. And there's this whole conversation about privatization. So let me just read what former Secretary Shulkin said when he wrote this piece in the New York Times today. He says he was forced out because he opposed privatization. He wrote, "The private sector is ill prepared to handle the number and complexity of patients, particularly when it involves the mental health needs of people scarred by the horrors of war. The department's understanding of service-related health problems, its groundbreaking research, and its special ability to work with military veterans cannot be easily replicated." Colonel, if Dr. Jackson, you know, works to privatize, which is what the White House has signaled the president would be in favor of, how do you see that moving forward?
Well, again, I think the larger narrative, Brooke, of putting the veteran needs first and then look at functionally whether or not that's a smart thing to do. For example, on the way in over the last couple... Yeah, I think in some cases it does. I mean, I spoke with 17 combat veterans over the last couple of hours, Brooke, and you know as well as I do the kind of sacrifice many of our combat veterans have made. Of the 17, 16 of them were dealing with some kind of PTS or TBI issue, traumatic brain injury issue, and all of them cited it is very tough to get one-on-one time with a psychiatrist or a mental health specialist in the VA, and they said that privatization in that sense may be good. But in some cases, the VA does have the edge on certain things. We should leave it there. At the end of the day, the needs of the veteran should be what drives the leadership to go private or to stay with the VA. And again, I don't hear that at all. What I hear are you know, kind of self-agendas or politicized agendas instead of putting the veterans first. And that really concerns me from a narrative perspective. There was a time when, as Americans, we knew better. And I think we've got to get back to the fact that we take care of our veterans first and we do what's right by them. If it's privatization for one particular thing, then we do it. One other thing I would say, Brooke, just real quick, is this is not going to be a home run. It's going to be iterative, and it's going to take time. No agency ever hits a home run. I'd fall out of my floor if they did. It'll be multiple leaders over the period of time, but we got to put the veterans first.
Colonel Mann, thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Just in, President Trump touting his phone call with Roseanne about her high ratings. Hear why he is taking credit for it. Also, Stephon Clark's family and friends saying their final goodbyes there in Sacramento. His shooting death at the hands of police officers has sparked massive protests. The White House, when asked about this, says it's a local matter. We'll discuss that.
Hi, I'm Joan London. Today's senior living communities have never been better, with amazing amenities like movie theaters, exercise rooms and swimming pools, public cafes, bars and bistros, even pet care services. And there's never been an easier way to get great advice.